Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. This is Cody here with the I change everything on my Jeep TJ 1-ton build every single day. The goal of the video today is to get you guys to subscribe. No, I'm just kidding. The goal of the video is to get the SuperDuty axle stripped down, all the mounts cut off of it, and get it back under the Jeep where we were at with the other Dana 60 axle. Let's get started. Okay, the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm going to strip as much stuff off of this axle to make it a little bit lighter that I can. So I'm gonna pull the diff cover off, I'm gonna pull the hubs off, the spindles off, get the axle shafts out, our actual gear set out, and pretty much strip this thing down to absolutely nothing. I'm doing that because this axle is extremely, extremely heavy and all this stuff has to come off to make modifications anyway. So we'll strip all that stuff off first and then we'll start cutting these behemoth, and I mean behemoth, control arm and coil spring mounts off. The diff cover bolts are 9/16. What I'm doing here is pulling brake line brackets off and the ABS brackets off. They're all 8 and 10 millimeter bolts. Our coil towers are no longer being used, so they can get taken off. They're an 18 millimeter socket. Our manual locking hubs come off with a T25 Torx bit, and then there is a small snap ring inside of here that will also have to come off. Once that's off, we'll be ready to get these serviceable hubs off. So 4 21 millimeter nuts hold the hubs on. Once they're off, gently tap the hub with a hammer and then you can get a pry bar in there and manipulate the hub out. All right, so what you guys watched there was me pulling the actual axle shafts out. The hub seals are notoriously a pain in the butt, so just plan on replacing those once you get the axle put back together. All right, we're yanking the spindles off now. The top ball joint bolt is a 28 millimeter, bottom is 1 5/16. We're gonna zip them off. As you guys can see, beat the spindles like a redheaded stepchild and they will come off. Drive shaft yoke is 1 5/16. All right, so at this point, all we have left is the differential. Those are 18 mil bolts to pull the actual gear set out. All right, we have a completely stripped down SuperDuty Dana 60 axle that's ready to get all the mounts cut off of it so it can never go on a Ford again. So historically speaking, the driver's side has been the bigger pain in the ass for me. We've got to cut all of this, and then I think I'm gonna cut the pumpkin right about there. So we're gonna cut a good bit of the pumpkin off. These are welded in like inch increments, so I should be able to cut, grind, and get that off. I hate doing this. And I also hate that the control arms on this side are like completely attached to the pumpkin. So it's gonna make for this, this being a little bit more interesting than I think I'd previously wanted. But nonetheless, we'll get it done. So I think that's gonna be the plan, is we're gonna cut the actual pumpkin here, or the diff here. We'll get this off fairly easy. This is gonna be the big pain in the ass. I think I'm gonna come in at an angle with cut off wheels, try to clean all that out, and I'm gonna take it in chunks. It's gonna probably be the only way. So yeah, we'll get started on her. So doing this driver's side, there is no easy way to cut these mounts off. Cut into the actual control arm bushings themselves. That will open up a lot, as you guys can see, and then it's just a matter of making a ton of small cuts and then continuing to make small cuts until it's down low enough you can grind it. Now obviously, the more cutting you do, the less grinding you'll have to do in the long run, but definitely not the worst thing I've ever done, but it's probably the worst thing I've done this week. So just be prepared for that, and you guys will be fine. All right, this is our finished product here. Yeah, I've cut into it a little deep here. Be careful doing that, but if you go too deep, you can always weld it. So you guys will see this little line here. That is how much of the pumpkin we're gonna be cutting off. It's about 1/4 inch from the lip of this big circle here. We're gonna be cutting about 2 inches of the pumpkin off, roughly 2 inches. That is going to give us access to get this dinky little piece of crap off, and then also where we will later mount our lower control arms, and then the truss will come down to here. So we're gonna get cutting on this. Be careful you don't cut too deep. Know that it's about 3/8 of an inch. You're gonna probably cut the tube a little bit, but just be careful. We will go back and weld it after the fact. All right guys, so you saw me cut all this. This is the pumpkin now. So we have that piece and this piece here. So that was the piece of our pumpkin. Cut it all the way around. It's all the way around here. Ground these holes. So if you look, there's a hole there, that's where they welded. So I grounded them down and then cut it in half. And then you just start beating it, making more little cuts, beating it, making more little cuts, and the ring of the pumpkin pops right off. So that should be about enough. What we can do now is we can grind the rest of our little spot welds down, and we can cut this giant piece of crap out of here. And then we'll be ready to move on to the passenger side. All right, everyone. Driver's side is done. As you can see, probably on this 7-day long time lapse, that it's a pain in the butt, but it is doable. It's all done, shaved where we need it. That stupid bracket is off the side. This should have been the hardest side, so this passenger side, theoretically, should go a heck of a lot faster than the driver's side did. So let's get started on it and get done with this thing. All right guys, well here we have it. The stripped down version of the Dana 60. Or SuperDuty Dana 60, I should say. We're gonna weld the actual pumpkin on both sides, but we're gonna wait until we get the truss to do that, just so that way I can make sure the weld doesn't interfere with the truss. There's no easy way to do this. This honestly sucks. So, cut, small cuts, lots of grinding. The more cutting you do, the less grinding you'll have to do. If you nick the tube or the pumpkin where you don't want it, just go back and fill it with weld. Prepare to spend a lot of money on cutoff wheels. And then one other thing with welding the pumpkins, we're doing that so that way the tubes don't spin in the pumpkin, but also because when you cut the pumpkin here, you're inevitably cutting into the tube. So it just strengthens that area back up again. But yeah, that is the first episode with the SuperDuty Dana 60, last episode of the new year, so Happy New Year to all you guys. Yeah, we're gonna have hopefully all the parts to put this in the next week or so. So I'm super excited. Hoping to have the Jeep rolling on its own accord. So thanks for watching guys, catch you on the next one.